am careful when I meet men of God. When I use the men of God, I'm not just talking about the preacher. I'm talking of any man who is in God. I judge you to be a man of God. Then there are those with a call. You know why? Who is a man of God or a woman of God? Is somebody or a child of God, is a person who stands with God, for God, by God, in God, all cases. You are a covenant practitioner. When you meet a man who practices covenant, in a covenant of prayer, he prays. Covenant of sacrifice, he sacrifices. The covenant of purity is pure. He lives a pure life, and the man is still going through a process. I'm scared of that man. Why? When I use the word scared, I'm not talking of being afraid, as it were. I'm careful about that man, because that man, in a twinkle of an eye, like a joke, can just appear. That is a man who can you just undermine him now and you mind him tomorrow. Because why? The man is on God's course. God has an agenda for such a man. But when I see a man who is in church living a life of compromise, I can tell a man who will soon visit in the hospital. When your stand is with God and he has not showed up, does not mean he will not show up. I heard the testimony of a woman who kept herself with God for years. How many years was that woman before she got married to a general? She was 50 years old. She said she had a revelation, that she got married to a general or something. She kept herself 50 years. No man has ever touched her. She has most probably, if you permit me to use my words, not necessarily her, she must have gone through certain process. Oh Lord, said to me, oh Lord, release my man. 30 years, man no come. 35 years, man no show. 40, man no show. 42, man no show. She kept on loving God, serving God, and just Paul said, for what shall separate us from the love of God? What shall separate us? Not even delayed breakthrough, not delay fruitfulness, not delay settlement. What shall separate us from the love of God? She just kept serving God. I want to believe she was not covetous or desirous of another man's person, a woman's person. But somehow, life did what life would do. And of all, the man is too spiritual to settle for emotions. And the next thing, the bell rang and they said, ladies and gentlemen, a woman who have waited for 50 years is suddenly going to become the general's general. And then you think that waiting is a waste? No, sir. It's never a waste. I was watching a particular TV station, and I was hearing a man said, I am a deacon of this ministry. I've been in this ministry for 20-something years. I've been believing God for the fruit of the womb for about 14 of the years he has been there. They've been in the church for 20-something years. They have no child, yet they are deacons, ordained, committed to the cause of the altar. They said their shaking never shook. Their faith never shook. They kept serving God, kept loving God. With 10 years, 20 years of their commitment, it never shake. And then in 22 years of their involvement and commitment, the Lord visited them and they were dedicating their twins after 22 years. You know, this present new generation who is saying, oh God, show up now, or I look for an alternative. If I don't marry tomorrow, I look for help for myself next tomorrow. Don't be carried away by the success of the successful. Tell them to tell you their stories. Every product is a process. There's no good bread without the furnace. The bread is useless if it has never been through the furnace.
Yes, sir.
That's why I wrote a book I call Useless Without Fire. Fire is not palatable when it comes on you, but it makes you edible, attractable, and celebratable. God is not wicked. If you need further answer, meet me in my office. I'll tell you why. God is not wicked. He cannot be wicked. How will you feel when God finally settles you? After you have spoken to everybody that God is not fair. Anytime somebody is coming to celebrate, you conclude God has sentiment. He's biased in blessing people. Then the day God now settles you, what will you say? You know, many times when it has not come to our turn, we criticize it. Only the mature celebrate the successful.
Yes, sir.
Because they know that there is Jehovah Omnibrancher. After somebody is somebody. Church, I came to tell you, God is not wicked. Number 3, I wrote here, Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 8, better is the end of a thing. Don't give up on God yet. Number 4, love him more. Let me give you a secret. When God has not showed up, love him more. The love of a seeker should be stronger than the love of even a receiver. Love him more. Forget your problem and just keep loving him. When he will settle you, you will be saying, so God don't do me like this. God is not wicked. God is not wicked.